Incompetent just means that you don't understand exactly what is going on at this time, and that you don't believe that you're going to be held liable or that you're bound to the rules of court at this time because you're not competent to provide a proper answer at this time. And they can't make an incompetent person answer when you admitted that you're incompetent. Being incompetent is not a bad thing. Being incompetent is a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
That's why, like, women and children for thousands of years were never held liable for their acts. The husband had to. The husband meant a bond servant. So being a husband meant that you were putting up the bond for all the crazy shit, like if you ever watched I Love Lucy, Ricky Ricardo was a bond servant. So every kind of escapade, crazy bullshit nonsense Lucy was getting into, he was being held liable. I don't know if you ever watched I Love Lucy over there in England. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay, it's a comedy show. And there's this screwball crazy redhead, and Ricky Ricardo was the bongo player, poor husband, that every time Lucy wanted to do something, she wanted to start her own business, she wanted to get a freaking job, she wanted to learn how to drive a car, she wanted to dabble in real estate, whatever the hell she was getting into, whatever crazy scheme that she had to get money and get rich quick or be an independent, strong woman or free from a Cuban bongo player husband. Every time, every show that only lasted 30 minutes, every time she fucked up somehow, poor Ricky was held liable for paying for all her debts and all her problems that she got into. And at the end of almost every episode, Ricky would take Lucy, put her over his fucking lap, and he'd spank the shit out of her. And she'd be kicking and squealing at the end of the show, and everybody get a good laugh. I mean, you can't do that anymore. In this country, you can't say, hey, lady, you screwed up my life. You made me, you just wrecked, you made me pay $500 in damages. Get over here so I, put you on my knee and pop your ass. So you learn your lesson so you don't do it again. Because this is the way it's been for thousands of years. They've been incompetent. Children and women were deemed incompetent. So it was so funny back in the 70s when I went to school. Like I said, I got kicked out of a sociology class in less than 3 days because with the very first thing that poor sociology, professor guy opened up the class with, he was like 60, 70 years old, pure communist guy. He says men and women are equal. And I just started going, pooh. And then and all the girls booed and hissed me. I said, what? Are you kidding? Do you believe in this guy's nonsense? And they were like, well, yes, we're equal. I said, do you realize you could get away with murder and you could just say it was that time of the month? Do you realize you could do whatever you could embezzle funds and just say, well, I wanted a new hat? Do you realize you could get away with just about any wrong and walk away from it scot-free, blaming it on your dad, blaming it on your husband? I said, you have no idea that you're not being held liable for anything you do wrong because you're incompetent, that you don't know law. The only thing you women could be held liable for is that you're supposed to cook dinner, iron clothes, and raise babies because technically the society believes that that's all that you're competent in. So, but if you want to be held liable for every other act, like if you want to be held liable for all the acts that a man does, oh, well, God bless you. You're crazy. Because all that's going to happen is the courts are going to get jurisdiction and control and authority over you women, and they're going to make your life holy hell, just like they make men's lives holy hell. Because husband means bond servant. You want to be a bond servant? You want to put up whatever you got for doing wrong or acts of wrongs for others? Oh, you're out of your mind. So funny, man. By the third day, almost all the kids in the class had their desk. I sat in the last seat, last row, so I could look out the window. They all turned their desk and they were taking notes from me. And that poor little I remember his last name was Scalia. I'm sure he's dead by now. I remember on the first day he tried to block the door so I couldn't leave the classroom. He wanted to talk to me. The second day he actually touched me and I was able to shimmy around him and leave. The third day, this little Irish guy stepped on my shoes so I couldn't. He knew I wouldn't hit an old man. So he stepped on my shoes and said, hey, look, I got an agenda. I got a curriculum I got to instill and indoctrinate these kids with. He says, you're really screwing up my program here. He says, look, I'll give you an A, but don't ever come back to my class. He says, you're totally effing up my ability to teach these people what I got to teach them. So I took the A and I never went back. But I'm telling you, I knew this baloney since 1979, 1980 when that guy pulled that stunt on me. It's common sense. What I do is common sense because, like I said, thank God my dad didn't read or write English, and you're saying your dad doesn't read or write English as well. So he has to deal on what he knows is common sense. So What I have to tell people, if they're good, if they have common sense, this stuff hits them like lightning. They're like, oh yeah, this all makes sense.
But how do I get rights of audience on behalf of my father? Because I've tried lots of different avenues, but it didn't quite work.
That's why you're going to move into Queen's Bench. That's why you're going to move into Queen's Bench, and you're going to act as his next friend.
And as a what friend?
Next, N-E-X-T, his next friend.
Next, N-E-X-T, friend.
You could Google that if you want to, because that's what you do to help the incompetent, the disabled, or the idiots. And idiots is a wonderful thing to be called, too. Believe me. And when the state came to me and tried to hand me a contract, I said, look at me, man. I am an idiot. Any state policy, codes, regulations, or policies that you're trying to enforce upon me, I am an utter idiot. Because idiot means that I can't be held liable, I can't be bound, and I'm not entering into this contract. I'm not under your jurisdiction, control, authority. When you're an idiot, you can't contract with an idiot. It can't be done.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's illegal, and it's illegal, unlawful, and unethical. You can't do it.
That's quite interesting.
You can't do it. It's like say somebody's on their deathbed, or somebody is on just got into a car accident, or somebody just waking up from a coma, or somebody whatever, and you just put a contract in front of them and tell them to sign it.
Not mentally sane.
You can't do that. You can't take advantage of the incompetent. You can't take advantage of a woman or a child. You can't take advantage of an idiot. You can't do it. You can't capitalize on them. You can't. Because that's what capitalize means, to take advantage over somebody less fortunate. You can't capitalize. Yes, this is a capitalist country. Yes, but you still have to have certain rules and ethics that you got to live by. You can't take candy out of a baby's mouth. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Just because the baby can't fight back, it isn't the rule of the fittest. There isn't a jungle out here.